What's up, everybody? Cowboy C3. I don't know how many of you guys tuned in to my pregame yesterday. I did it kind of late. Thanksgiving, trying to get everything ready. Or y'all turned into my pregame last week against Philadelphia. I made a comment in the postgame last week against Philadelphia. And everybody on TikTok, thank you for joining. Please like and subscribe. Switch over to YouTube and like and subscribe. I made a comment that you could take me to Vegas because if you take the exact opposite of what I said, that is exactly what would happen. I said last night that the Cowboys would lose 31-28. But I gave that old wink of the eye because every time I've picked the Cowboys this year to go into a football game and win, they've lost. So I picked the exact opposite, and I'll be damned if I didn't hit it again. Take me to Vegas. I'm telling y'all, I'll make you rich. Let's talk about it here on Cowboy Spit.
Here we go! Yeah, here we go! Wait, take Cowboy Spit.
Throws back of the end zone. There's CeeDee Lamb.
What's up, everybody? Cowboy C3. Man, hey, they pulled it out. They came in and did just look at it. Just look at it. Cowboy C3 calls Cowboy keys to victory every week. Established the trenches from the jump. Started out kind of rocky, but they finally settled into the program, and it went pretty damn good today. Dak was under some pressure. He threw well under pressure. He did an excellent job under pressure. That first drive, threw a dumb pick, trying to force the ball. Don't force plays. Limit your turnovers. He learned from his mistake. Didn't do that again. Control Chris Jones. He was running kind of rampant at the beginning of the game, but they really kind of neutralized him and made him not a non-factor, but Chris Jones is always going to be a factor, but limit his productivity in the football game. Stay balancing your attack, be able to run from the first and through the fourth quarter. Did that today. Linebackers fill gaps and hit. Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco, it looked like they didn't want to run no more. And it was strictly because the Cowboy linebackers stepped up in holes and made hits. Vastly different. DeMarion Overshown makes a huge difference. Humongous difference. Dude is not afraid. Dude will step in there and make plays over and over and over again, and he can play it. How about them Cowboys, Danny? They did it. Don't give up. Don't give 15 opportunity to extend plays. 15 was under duress a lot. 15 scrambled around, and the Cowboys didn't handle it the best that they possibly could. But at the end of the day, it worked out. He didn't get to do too much. Chiefs got limited by a lot of penalties as well. Played more man coverage than zone. They did not do that today. They played a lot of zone. But when you put a quarterback under pressure and don't give him at the beginning of the game, I was upset because Patrick Mahomes getting rid of the ball in 1 second. Snap the ball, get his feet set, throw the ball, receivers running around open. Cowboys kind of closed in their stance and it worked out for them. It was complimentary football all day long, and that is all you can ask of the Cowboys to do. So in the last 2 weeks, they've beat the defending Super Bowl champion and the AFC juggernaut in the Kansas City Chiefs and put them in a bad predicament to even make the playoffs. So I'll give you some team stats before I go to the player stats. Total yards today, Cowboys have 457 total yards to the Chiefs, 362. 320 passing yards to 243. Rushing yards, they had 137 yards rushing to 119, average 7 yards a play. Chiefs average 6. 23 first downs to 19 to the Chiefs. 9 of 16 on third down, 5 of 13 for the Chiefs, 1 of 1 on fourth down for the Cowboys, 3 of 3 for the Chiefs. The fourth down was kind of an issue for the Cowboys today. Chiefs kept just responding on fourth downs. 65 total plays to the Chiefs, 60. No sacks allowed today. Chiefs allowed 3. The Chiefs punted 5 times today, and the Cowboys punted once. That is something that did not happen at the beginning of the season at all. And there are some things that have changed around with this Cowboy defense, and I don't know. That hot seat is getting, Danny said, let's go. How about them Cowboys? Super Bowl time. Let's just make the playoffs first. That's going to be a difficult feat in itself because you need some help, but you can help yourself a lot next Thursday, and we'll talk about that later on. I still think that the seat is not as hot. Maybe some of these explosions go away next week for him. I'm not real sure yet, but 2 weeks in a row, this defense has come through and has done some things, and you can do nothing but be happy about it. Penalty yards. This was, I think, the killer of the football game for the Chiefs. 10 penalties for 119 yards. Most of them came on pass interference by McDuffie, which is insanely crazy because I think he gave up more yards in the first quarter than he's given up to any single receiver all year long. And that's pretty amazing. CeeDee Lamb had a hell of a football game. We'll talk about that also in just a second. Time of possession was about the same. 30 minutes and 54 seconds for the Cowboys, 29:06 for the Chiefs. 1 interception thrown for the Cowboys. Dak threw an errant interception at the beginning of the game. 3 field goals made for the Cowboys, none for the Chiefs. And in the red zone, Cowboys were 2 of 4 efficiency. The Chiefs were 3 of 3. So they scored their points in the red zone pretty regularly. Going to the player stats. Patrick Mahomes was 23 of 34 for 261 and 4 touchdowns. 129.7 QBR. He had a really good game today. It's just when it really counted, Dak had a better game. And, Dak showed up. After his interception, he woke up and played exceptional football today. Who cares about the Chiefs? Well, that's who they played, so we're going to talk about them. Kareem Hunt, 14 carries for 58 yards. Patrick Mahomes had 3 for 30. Isaiah Pacheco had 3 carries for 16 yards. Xavier Worthy had 2 carries for 13 yards. Rashee Rice had 8 catches for 92 yards and 2 touchdowns. Xavier Worthy, 4 catches for 61 yards. Travis Kelce had 5 catches for 45 yards and a touchdown. Hollywood Brown had 2 catches for 20 yards and a touchdown. And Kareem Hunt had 1 catch for 22 yards. Isaiah Pacheco also added in with 2 catches for 17 yards. So, Dak Prescott goes 27 of 39 for 322 touchdowns, and we talked about the errant interception at the beginning of the game. First drive of the game, he gave the Chiefs a 7-0 lead. QBR of 100.4. Javonte had 7 carries for 59 yards. Malik Davis had 3 carries for 47 yards. Humongous touchdown up the middle. I think in the third quarter, it really gave the Cowboys it gave them their first lead of the game. Kevontae Turpin, 3 carries for 33 yards. Dak Prescott had 3 carries, -2 yards. CeeDee Lamb had 7 catches for 112 yards and a touchdown. George Pickens had 6 catches for 88 yards. Jake Ferguson had 5 catches for 36 yards. And Flanor had 3 catches for 34 yards. Turpin had 2 catches for 28 yards. Javonte Williams had 3 catches for 21 yards and a touchdown. Schoonmaker had a catch for a yard. Clowney had 2 sacks today. Excellent game. Dante Fowler had a sack. And I believe that those sacks came because the 2 defensive tackles, actually the 3 defensive tackles, Solomon Thomas, Quentin Williams, and Kenny Clark played exceptional football today. Excellent football up the middle. And clogged it up for the Chiefs, made it hard for them to run the ball, constantly putting pressure on Patrick Mahomes and making him run around and do some things that it made him uncomfortable. And that was the thing that was I thought was the key to the game, was making Patrick Mahomes uncomfortable and getting him off his spots. He started to catch a rhythm there in the second quarter. At the halftime, though, he went back cold, and credit a lot of that to the Cowboy defense. Particularly the secondary, I thought Reddy Stewart had an excellent game today. I thought Siobhan Revelle played good today. Deron Bland played well. Donovan Wilson was all over the place. Even on some plays, he was a little bit late getting there, but he was there. Malik Hooker went out with a foot injury, but I believe he came back in the game. I thought that they played well. Shaquille Ridges gave up a touchdown to Rashee Rice at the end of the game, but it was an excellent play by Rashee Rice. Shaquille Ridges had excellent coverage on the play. Patrick Mahomes just put the ball only where Rashee Rice can get it, and he got it. And that gave the Chiefs a lead at the end of the game, but the Cowboys drove down the field. I think George Pickens had like 51 yards on that last drive. Touchdown went to Javonte Williams. Then ultimately, Pickens catches the 2-point conversion over in the corner on a great play. They gave him the 31-28 lead, and they never really looked back. So, congratulations to him. Excellent football game today. Cowboys win 31-28. Just phenomenal. Good play. I thought Schottenheimer called an excellent game. I can give credit when credit is due. When push came to shove today, Eberflus, he called a pretty good game. I'm still not a big fan of Matt Eberflus at all, but they went and got some players that fit his scheme probably a little bit better than the players that they had on the roster before. And, like players like Diggs, like I don't even really know where you fit. I think they found something kind of special in Siobhan Reveal. As long as they can keep him healthy. He sat down for a couple of plays today too. He had I think he banged up his ankle. But, all around an excellent football game today. I thought they played extremely well. I thought they did some things that, were quite surprising, especially, going into this game, being the all-world Kansas City Chiefs with their all-world quarterback. And, it went well. It went exceptionally well. I don't think you could ask for much more. I said that the Cowboys had to play an excellent football game, and even them playing, one of the most complete games of the season, I still didn't know if it would be enough. And today it was enough. And that is, that, like I said, that's really all you can ask for. And you still got a long road ahead. You've passed the first two tests of the gauntlet. And the first two tests of the gauntlet were tremendous ones, humongous ones. You've got a big one, maybe even a bigger one today. You're going to face off a pissed off Green Bay team that couldn't beat Green Bay again. Excuse me, not Green Bay, a pissed off Detroit team that couldn't beat Green Bay again today. Lost to them. I think the final score was 24-21, if I'm not mistaken. They're going to be ready. They are going to be absolutely ready. And you play them again on another primetime game on Thursday night. So you don't get that 10 days of rest this Thanksgiving. You only get seven days, just like everybody else. And then you'll get your 10-day break before you play the Chargers. But you're going into hostile territory. You're going into Detroit. You're going into a rowdy crowd that absolutely cheers their football team vigorously. That is a rough crowd base, and it's going to be loud, and it's going to be obnoxious, and you're going to face a pissed off team that is desperate for a win, just like you are. And you guys are going into the game basically with the same record, except for that stupid ass tie against Green Bay. You're 6-5-1, and they're 7-5. So, it's going to be a tough one. These first two, it just seems like that it just progressively gets tougher for the Cowboys, and then it'll kind of plateau out. And when you play the Chargers and then the Vikings, and then you play your division games against Washington and New York to close out the year, and you just see where the chips fall. San Francisco is holding on to that last playoff spot, and they've got a really good record. I think they're 8-4. So you're still a game behind them, a game and a half behind them. So you got some catching up to do. It's 2 in a row. Hopefully St. Brown is out. So I saw him come up with the ankle injury where he got rolled up on, got hit from behind and got rolled up, and that would give you a little bit of grace. But Jameson Williams stepped up in a big way, huge way today. To kind of pick up the slack for St. Brown being gone. just doesn't get targeted like that. But you can see he can carry the slack. He can carry the torch of being the number one receiver on that team. Plus, they still got Jamar Gibbs, and that dude is dangerous. That dude is dangerous. He is a hell of a football player. He kind of held in check today, though. He was. Said, wait, Detroit lost to the Packers. Who cares? Listen, man, Danny, I don't know if you watch football a lot, but that Detroit team is dangerous. They are rough. Defensively, they're not fantastic. I believe you faced a better defense today. I believe you'll be able to score on them. However, their offense is phenomenal. Even without St. Brown, they're still a very, very, very good offense. John said, let's go Cowboys. Hey, I'm happy with them today, man. I am happy. They played extremely well. I thought the turning point of the game today, for me, was there was 2 plays I thought that really gave the Cowboys an advantage. One, the play where CeeDee Lamb caught the 50-yard pass when the Cowboys really, really, really desperately needed a play and they were trapped down on their own end of the field, and they come out with a 50-yard play where CD, I'm not sure. If you looked at the play, Dak seemed surprised to see him go deep, and it looked like with the corner blitz, CD took off, and as soon as he took off, he threw his hands up. Dak kind of looked left, came back right, saw CD, and just put the ball up in there, and he kind of underthrew him, but CeeDee Lamb still followed through with the catch. The next one was a series of plays where George Pickens was just catching slants and just beating up on cornerbacks and safeties. George Pickens is a game changer. Even though he didn't have the big stat line like CeeDee Lamb had today, if they don't sign that dude, man, that shit is crazy, because he gives you an element that you haven't really had in a long time, and that's a big body physical receiver that can go up the field, catch the ball, but he can be a possession receiver and catch slants and break tackles and get the ball down the field and in a violent way. And I can't remember a lot of times where they've done that. I also think that too, Larry, that Turpin has some really good plays today that ultimately came through in the clutch. Particularly, I know a lot of people get nervous when they Turpin line up in the backfield, especially from last week when he fumbled. But out of the backfield today, he averaged 10 yards a carry. And on some critical times where they needed a spark, he gave it to him. And I know it's been kind of an off season for him, particularly in the return game. He hadn't really had that statement return yet. Still got a couple of games to play this season. But when they need that little dude, man, he comes through. And then George Pickens goes down there, catches the slant and fumbles. And there's 3 Chiefs standing around the ball. And they're absolutely full bore at the ball. And Turpin comes from the other side of the field, just chasing the play like they always teach you, just fundamental football. And the ball goes on the ground, and Turpin dives and recovers the ball and gives you that 3 points from Dan Bailey. That's crazy. But Dan Bailey ain't been the kicker in a long time. From Brandon Aubrey, and made the score 31-28. That's the type of hustle, and that's the type of things that have to bounce your way for this team to even have a remote chance of making the playoffs. You're going to need some help. You're going to need San Francisco to drop a few games, but these next, from Detroit to the end of the season, these are football games that you have to win. And I think the best way to do it is the way that the Cowboys are doing, and I think it's just to take one game at a time. Just take it for what it is. Enjoy the moment. Enjoy the adversity that you'll go through. Learn from it. Improve, and just play Cowboy football. And they've been doing a really, really, really good job of that. They got motivation from an unfortunate incident that happened, and the team seems like that they're together. They're clicking on all cylinders. The coaches are hitting on all cylinders too. And, you know, I've been talking about that for years. It always seems like something is off. Something's off. Something's off. Even when they're winning, you don't really have a lot of faith in them. Like, you're like, man, if this team, if they get to the playoffs, we'll see what happens. This team, this is a really, really good football team. And they got off to a slow start, and I'm not so sure they'll even make it to the postseason. Like I said, they need a lot of help. But if they do, if they can somehow, some way scrape their way into it, they'll be a dangerous team to play for anybody to play. Whether they definitely, well, I'm not gonna say they definitely won't, because they could get a home playoff game, but on the road they'll be hard to handle as well. I truly believe that. But we'll see. Need Philly to lose some games coming up here soon, and their schedule, they kind of played that rough part of the schedule at the beginning of the season. They got some games that they, for the most part, they should win, but we'll see. Like I said, like last week, Philly to me was always been on the verge of imploding, especially with the whole A.J. Brown fiasco that's going on up there with him and Jalen Hurts and him not getting the ball. But he fed the ball to him against the Cowboys last week. But we'll see what they do on Sunday. It's the Eagles. They know how to win. They know how to win football games. They can bring it together. And if Saquon ever gets going the way that he should, that's going to be a tough football team, and it's going to be tough to overcome them. You got to hope that they lose a few games and you just keep winning in order to kind of climb into that spot as the division champ. But, it is what it is. But the Cowboys today, on Thanksgiving Day, they beat the all-world Chiefs. All Cowboy fans should be happy. They played a complete football game. They did an excellent job today, and, hats off to them. Super duper excited. I told some dudes at work the other day, man, I almost forgot what this feels for how this feels, for the Cowboys to go out and win big time football games. I had a comment that, when the lights get bright, that, your quarterback, he always folds. Yeah. Shit, he ain't folding now. That's all you can talk about. But, the whole conversation come up, well, it's the regular season. We'll see what happens at the playoffs. Shit, I don't even know if this team going to make the playoffs. But if they do, they'll be a tough out. That's for sure. But anywho, I'm going to get out of here, man. I still got a bunch of family in this other room, and everybody, they done broke into my bourbon collection, and it's going down. So I think I'm going to go join them. All right, y'all. Cowboy C3. Cowboys win 31-28 against them Chiefs, man. Yeah. How about them? All right, y'all. Have a good night. Peace.